Hi, I'm Monsignor Walter Nolan. Welcome to the Catholic Corner. Today we're on location at the Catholic Center at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, to talk with Anne Piarulli. Anne's a young parishioner at St. Mary of the Lakes Church in Medford, New Jersey. She's also an animal science major here at Rutgers University and a raiser, or a trainer. I got a little mixed up with the word raiser, but that's neat, it's a neat word. A raiser or a trainer with the Rutgers University C&I Puppy Club. And brought with her today one of her best friends, Nita, the C&I puppy, who she's raised for over a year. The Rutgers University C&I Puppy Club is run by the university students. And members like Anne raise and train puppies, like Nita, for the C&I Incorporation, the national nonprofit organization that promotes the independence and dignity of blind individuals through the use of service dogs. Anne waited 3 years to get a puppy to raise, and soon she'll have to give Nita up so Nita can fulfill her mission as a service dog. You know, God works in tremendous ways, and one of the great ways is to give us animals who can share their instincts and their love and the blessings that God gives them. Welcome, and so nice to have you.
Hi, thank you.
Gosh almighty, you know, just bringing Nita, boy, that's just a marvelous, marvelous gift, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah, it is.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you here to Rutgers, and especially, you know, your whole desire to study animal science.
Well, I first came to Rutgers junior year of high school when I was looking around at colleges, and I didn't expect to like it here at all because I thought it was going to be a city, and I've grown up in a small town, and I prefer the country over the city any day. But I was pulling up, and my GPS said, you know, make a right on College Farm Road, and I was like, there's no farm in the city. But there was a huge farm, and they had horses and cows, and the farther down the road you went, the more I saw that there were like sheep and goats and pigs. And I was like, oh, this is where I would want to spend the next 4 years of my life. And then afterwards at the orientation, I learned, you know, about the animal science program, and it's really prestigious, I guess, amongst other programs, and it's been a really great experience so far.
Now, does that lead to further studies? Are you going to be a veterinarian, or
Yeah,
what is your desires?
I hope to go to veterinary school, and this is a great program to get a really good basis on it, because you don't technically need a bachelor's in animal science to go to vet school. There are certain requirements that you have to do, but this gives a really good basis, and they offer other classes that other programs wouldn't offer, like animal nutrition and classes like that will really help you further along the way.
So it's a good, firm foundation for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Even Nita says it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Tell me, did you always love animals as a kid? I mean, did you always have animals around the house and everything?
Yeah, I did. I always wanted a dog. That was my biggest thing, but of course when I was younger, my parents started off with like, oh, you know, here's a goldfish and like hermit crabs, and then the older I got, I think when I was in kindergarten, I got a rabbit, and so that was like a little bit more responsibility. So they kept on building me up to a dog, and I think for my 7th birthday, it's when they said, okay, like we think you're ready, let's start like looking for a dog. And ever since then, we have had a dog. So it's been really great having that companionship. You
know, my last dog that I had, that really God just took a little while ago, I named him Toby. And basically the name comes from the Bible, the book of Tobias. And it's a long story that we'll get into some other time. But, you know, when Tobias kind of went on his journey, in the Bible it says, and the dog followed him. And then when he was coming back, it said, and the dog followed. So I always think that, you know, there's just wonderful gifts of God, even in the scriptures, that talk to us about the beauty and the gift of animal love.
Yeah.
Has your faith always been a part of that kind of feeling also? Or how does your faith connect you with the love of animals?
I was thinking about that earlier, and normally I would say like, oh, like I don't really know, but I've always known that I've loved animals and I wanted to be a vet, and like the past couple years have shown me that most people go through college not knowing what they want to do at all. And I've known what I've wanted to do since I was like 5 years old. So I feel like that is an incredible blessing, and it really helps give me direction and purpose throughout college, and it helps with the decisions that I make.
Terrific, terrific. You know, it's a neat thing to do when you're young, to even say that prayer, a little prayer that's just, look, what do you want me to do? You know, because I think it's neat to connect with God's love, your love, and the work that you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
When you came to Rutgers, which is a great university, you know, there's lots of history here and lots of blessings here. Did you know that they had a C&I puppy club?
I heard about it when I visited for the first time. There was a girl who made an announcement about the puppy club, and she had a dog with her, and I don't remember anything she said. I was just like, oh my gosh, she has a dog with her, and she gets to bring that dog to class with her. That's awesome. And
is there anything better?
I know. So of course, that's what really drove me. I was like, oh, that is incredible. Like, I would love to do that. But then my freshman year came around, and I wasn't totally sure how to hear about it. Going to the involvement fairs at universities really helped. I didn't go to that, and I really wish I had, because then I would have realized, like, oh, this meeting is coming up and I should go. But I found out through other people in my dorm, like when the meeting was, and a bunch of us went, and it was jam-packed in this like classroom, and it was really crazy and hectic, but that's how it all started. So it was great.
Did you get a puppy like right away, or how did they decide, like, okay, this student gets one or this student doesn't get one?
Well, we earn our puppies based on merit. Okay. So we start out as general members, which was what I classified as when I first entered, and then we go through a sitter lecture, and we learn all about our dogs and the seeing eye, how to handle them, where they're allowed to go, where they aren't allowed to go, how to handle them in certain situations, how to be prepared in events of like crisis and other things. And then the week after that, our meetings are weekly, and we take a sitter quiz. And if you pass that, then you become basically a babysitter for the puppy. But there are several puppies in our club. Like, it carries on every year. Like, there are raisers, and then like if I can't bring Nita somewhere, I'll give her to a sitter. And they really help shape our dogs and everything. And they're puppies, of course, so we have to embrace that. But it's really great.
These dogs stay as puppies for
like
10 or 12 years.
Oh yeah, definitely. They have a lot of energy, and we have to really support that and love them regardless of anything that happens. I had Nita throw up in the middle of one of my classes, and I was mortified. But you know, you just clean it up, and she wasn't sick. It was just she ate something weird, and we just like move on. And you know, she didn't mean to. She felt very guilty afterwards, but it wasn't her fault. So.
Well, professors know, I would imagine.
Yeah,
they know the dogs are part of the training and part of the love.
Yeah, so we have to ask our professors permission before we bring them to class. So it's really great when they do that, because if they're with a blind person, like later on in their lives, and you know they have a job or something, then it's important that the dog knows to how to behave and just sit down.
And did you ever have a situation where, like, the professor says, "Sure, bring the dog in," but there's a person in the class that's frightened of dogs or something like that? Does that ever occur?
I had that happen once. It wasn't in a class, but it was when I was just walking through the hallway, and it was narrow. So I'm walking with Nita, and of course she's very friendly, and she kind of like looks at everyone who walks by. And one girl was clearly scared, and she like glued herself to the wall as we walked by. So I just, you try to keep Nita under control and just keep on walking, but there's not much you can do. I've had another class where I had to ask permission. It was smaller. Most of my classes are in very large lecture halls. So a lot of people don't realize that there's a dog in the classroom until like they get up and shake and you hear their tags jingle and everyone turns around. They're like, what's going on? but it's really great to have them
terrific.
experience
Terrific.
class. Yeah.
So it took you 3 years to get your own puppy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my freshman year, I was a sitter, but I wasn't really involved. It was really intimidating, like all of these people, like a part of this club already, and they already have like their places established. Like, oh, this is like a really good sitter. So the raisers really enjoy like giving their dog to this person and, or this other person. Like, you know, there's like kind of groups that that people. Like they're just higher up, I guess. Mm-hmm. It felt like as a freshman, it's really easy to feel insignificant, I guess.
We've all had that.
Yeah. So it took me till the end of my freshman year. I became friends with one girl who was a great sitter, and she actually became a raiser like a couple weeks after I met her. And then I started to get more involved with the club. So my sophomore year, I was very active. I went to all the events. I started handling more dogs, babysitting, having them for sleepovers, and stuff like that. And that's what they look for in future puppy raisers. So at the end of my sophomore year, it was April 20th, 2011, I got my application from the president and vice president of the club. And that's like, that was a huge deal. Then the Seeing Eye gives you applications, and you have to fill it out, like what's your living situation like, who lives with you, like are there any other dogs, do you have a fenced-in backyard, questions like that. And then you also get to specify like what breed and gender you have a preference for. Like most people wouldn't want a golden retriever because of how much they shed, or if you have a female dog at home who isn't spayed, then you don't want a male. So, because the Seeing Eye doesn't fix their dogs until after they go back because they breed their own dogs. So if a dog passes its training and everything, and the Seeing Eye determines like whether they can go into breeding or not, or if they go on to be a guide dog. So those are other issues that we have to deal with.
There's like 2 tracks. There's a breeding track and then a guide track.
Yeah, the breeding track is very narrow and only a few dogs get in there. It's basically the best of the best.
Does the breeder though ever become a Seeing Eye dog?
I don't think so, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah.
I think most of them retire after breeding for a couple years, and
so you yourself had to have some skills. What skills
Yes.
did they look for? What skills did you have to train yourself for?
Well, there's a lot of sacrifice, I guess, that you have to do. If your dog gets sick and you have an exam the next day, or if it's in the middle of finals week and you have 3 exams in one day, your dog gets sick, or if something terrible happens, they get hit by a car, you have to rush them to the hospital, you're going to miss all of those exams. And you might fail all of those classes if your professor doesn't let you like retake them, and you have to be willing to give all of that up. And so you have to
I would hope that the professor would have a little heart.
Yeah, I would hope so too. I've never had that happen, thank goodness. But
it's because you're smart.
Yeah, so we're still good in that direction. So you have to be willing to sacrifice everything, put the dog first. And like firm handling skills, and just a connection with the dog. You have to be able to resist, because if you're eating something and they just give you that face, like I really want that food that you have right now, you have to be able to resist that, because our dogs aren't allowed to have human food. They're on a very strict diet because they're supposed to fit in a harness later in life, and if they're overweight, then they aren't going to fit and they're going to fail possibly.
And basically, it's a better way to feed animals too, I think.
Yes,
Although we all cheat once in a while.
But we can't cheat,
No, you can't cheat.
So it's a big deal. And then also they aren't allowed on furniture, because if they go with a person who doesn't want them on their furniture, but they've spent the first year of their life like, oh, I can just jump up, then that's a big no-no too. But sometimes it's like, oh, I just want to cuddle with my dog on the couch, and like we can't do that, or in bed, they can't sleep in bed with you. So there's a lot of discipline, I guess, that goes on with it as well.
Gosh, poor dogs. They can't get in the beds.
Well, most people, I know for the first couple months, I spent a lot of time on the floor with Nita.
That's good.
So we would like get blankets and pillows, and we
So
curl up on the floor
that way.
together, yes.
It's like reverse bonding.
Yeah.
Tell me, I was going to ask you, was that one of your greatest challenges, or what was one of your greatest challenges in raising Anita?
Well, when I first got her, definitely I was sleep deprived a lot. I had a really heavy course load, and I got her very last minute. It was a very strange situation where I'd been waiting for this phone call for months about like, oh, we have a puppy for you. And I waited about 10 months for this call, and I was waiting, regular working hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And I got my call for Nita at 8 p.m. on a Sunday, and apparently a family had taken her when she was 7 weeks old, and one of the family members came down with a bad allergic reaction to her. So she needed to be placed in another family or with another raiser, and that raiser was me. So I got her at 9 weeks old instead of the usual 7 weeks, and she was already pretty well trained. She didn't really interact with other dogs as well as I had wanted her to, but we worked on that. She would wake up really early in the morning, around like 5 a.m. And as a college student, I was going to bed at 11 or 12, so I wasn't getting a lot of sleep. And so that definitely took a toll on me, especially with juggling classes and a new puppy. It's a complete change, and but it was worth it in the end. She turned out, she's changing every day, but she's made a complete 180 from when I first got her.
Now, and when you go home and things, you take Nita with you?
Yeah,
or
I
on
take her.
Vacation, or I don't know if you have any of those kind of situations?
Well, the only I guess thing that could be classified as vacation that I've gone on was a study abroad trip that I did in May, and I went to Ireland, and it's really preferred that we don't take our dogs overseas at this time. And she was only like 5 or 6 months old when I went, so I had the sitters, which that's where I was a couple of years ago. I had sitters take her for about 2 weeks, but when I go home, she comes with me. I have a little Chihuahua at home, and they get along really well. They're best friends, so that's always really nice. But yeah, she comes with me everywhere pretty much.
She would have loved Ireland.
Yeah, I'm sure she would have. And if I had her there, I probably would have stayed there forever. But
I've been there. There are times when you can just see these dogs running up and down the hills. And one time I climbed a place called Crowpatcher, which is a mountain. Oh my gosh, some of the Irish folks had dogs. It was just marvelous to see.
Yeah.
Dogs would love it.
Oh yeah,
someday,
she would have
someday
absolutely
you have
loved
to do
it.
that. Tell me a little bit about. Can you take Nita anywhere because she's a service dog, even though she's doesn't have a license yet or whatever it is?
We actually can't take them everywhere. We can't take them to restaurants because it's a health code violation, and because she's in training and she isn't technically a service dog yet, she's not covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that is a problem, and also we can be denied entry to places if I want to go to, if I just want to go shopping somewhere. We always call the manager ahead, but they have the right to say, like, no, I'm not comfortable with that, I'm not okay with that. But for the most part, I've only had positive experience with that. I bring her to the movies, and we do a lot of stuff together. So.
Do you know, I actually was at a Major League Baseball park one time, and a gentleman had a dog.
Yeah.
And we got talking, and I'll never forget, he said to me, the dog really loves to come to the games.
Yeah.
It was just a marvelous thing. Was it more difficult than you expected?
Well, I was a puppy sitter for, about 2 years before I got Nita. So I had a pretty fair experience prior to getting her. So I knew what I was getting into, but having the puppy constantly, like in the beginning, it's very difficult and exhausting. But in the end is when it's all worth it. And I've noticed that things have kind of come full circle with Nita, whereas when she was a puppy, she absolutely destroyed my sleep schedule, and I was sleeping when she slept because I was so sleep deprived, but I wouldn't sleep well because as soon as she moved, I would be up in a second. And now it's more like, okay, I see Nita like settling down and going to sleep. I should probably go to sleep too because I know she's gonna wake me up around like 7 o'clock, which is an acceptable time. I'm okay with that. And but she wakes me up and she's like, okay, it's breakfast time. So when I see her going to sleep, I know like, okay, I guess I should be getting sleep too. So whereas like I was looking after her constantly before, now it's kind of like it's a little bit more give and take where she's like.
When they're at a little puppy stage, how long do they sleep? Would they sleep much of the night?
She slept most of the night. She slept pretty well. It's usually good to not let your puppy sleep so much during the day, and then like right before bed, kind of like get them riled up, and so they'll be tired and they'll
Just
sleep.
like children, I guess.
Yeah,
Get them tired.
it's been very similar. A lot of my friends say like, "Wow, you're kind of like a single mom," but except I give her back after 15 months or so. So it's a little different than having a kid, but I would definitely prefer to have this situation.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Have there any been like places that you took her that you just remember that was just a wonderful day?
We've gone to the movies a lot.
Uh-huh.
That was really nice. She was a big fan of The Hobbit. And we've been kayaking together. We went pumpkin picking in October. And this weekend is actually a pretty big time for us. We're going up to Morristown, where the Seeing Eye was founded, and they're having a St. Patrick's Day parade. So we're going there. She's going to do that. And then on Sunday, Rutgers has an event called Special Friends Day, where special needs kids come in, and they're partnered with 2 Rutgers students, and they go around and do little activities. And the Rutgers Puppy Club, our activity is petting the puppies. So we're doing that on Sunday. And then next week, we're going to the Newark airport, where we're going to get on a plane. It's not going to take off or anything, but it's good to expose the dogs to the small confinement that they might be exposed to in the future.
When you were talking like that, and you reminded me of a little quick joke about the fellow took the puppy to the movie, and someone said, when the dog was even crying during the movie, I said, "Gee, the dog really enjoys this movie." And the fellow said, "Yeah," I said, "I'm surprised because he didn't like the book at all." Silly stories. But tell me a little bit more about the, you're going to have to let the dog go after, how hard is that?
Well, she's my first puppy, so I've never actually done it before. But it's a huge mix of emotions because you've worked so hard for this moment, for over a year. And so it's exciting that it's finally being achieved. But then it's also, you've been bonded with this dog for over a year as well. So it's definitely bittersweet, but I'm convinced that it will be absolutely worth it in the end. So.
Are you allowed to go visit the dog later on?
No.
No.
We pretty much cut ties. The dog is always under the ownership of the Seeing Eye. And except when they go with their blind person, then they relinquish their rights. And but technically she is a dog of the Seeing Eye, and so when I give her back, that's it. I get postcards updating me, but the only time I think I will see her is if she passes and they go on a town walk with their instructor at the Seeing Eye, and they're in harness, and it's a very proud moment, kind of like walking at graduation. And they walk throughout Morristown, and you get to follow at a distance so your dog doesn't see you and get really excited or anything. So that's probably the only time that I would see her again.
Boy, that's terrific. That is terrific. What are some of the important aspects of training needed? In other words, is there going to be continuing training, or what happens to the dog?
Well, when they're young, it's important to be really consistent with them. But when we have them, we just teach them basics like sit down. We teach them to walk on our left side because most people are right-handed, so it's easy to you have your dog on your left side, you open a door with your right hand. So that's one thing. We teach them forward instead of heel because they're guide dogs and they're meant to pull a little bit. So that's a big thing. But we teach them basic obedience, house manners. Then they go back to the Seeing Eye and they learn more intensive things. So it's completely different, and the Seeing Eye does incredible things with the dogs. It's really incredible.
Does that mean that when you're finished with the pup, that the training still continues though?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And then there's other dogs too, aren't there? I mean, there are dogs that help folks, I understand, if they have seizures, and there's all kind of training dogs.
Yeah, there's a wide variety of therapy dogs. It's growing every day, but the Seeing Eye specifically is for with blind people and guide dogs in that manner. But it's it's been a great
I was thinking too when we were
organization.
talking that maybe because your heart's to develop into a beautiful veterinarian, that maybe it's a little training for you to let go of the dog, because you can have all kinds of animals all the time, and I'm sure you fall in love with them. And you know, when you take care of them for years, and sometimes it's being a good doctor, I guess. You know, tell me a little bit. You know, faith. You know, trusting in God's plan has helped you to prepare for letting go, even.
Well, everyone's different. You know, not everyone in Puppy Club has religion in the way that I do, but I definitely think that it will help me as like sacrificing this dog, because it's actually based on like a lot of questions and comments that I get from people. Like some people come up to me and they say, "Oh gosh, like isn't it going to be really difficult when you let the dog go? I would just make the dog fail, and so I could adopt it back," because that's what happens. Like if a dog fails, the puppy raiser, you know, they're allowed to adopt the dog back as a pet, and like that always kind of like I usually laugh it off, but like, I don't know, it's like you work so hard for this one goal, and it's for your dog to become a seeing eye dog, and like that's all I want for Nita.
Sure.
And so, you know, I feel like that kind of selflessness, I guess, has really been inspired by my faith.
I think that's probably what makes you such a good raiser. You know,
yeah, you definitely have to be selfless.
Sure. I mean, that's it's like being part of a team when you root for the other person even to do more and be more. That's a marvelous. Don't ever even lose that gift with everything you do in life. Tell me, what are some of the other aspects that you have for the future in your life that you think will continue?
Well, in general, I would love to travel. I am looking at vet schools, looking at even going abroad for vet schools. But I would love to. I'd love to raise in the future. Absolutely, like raise another puppy, perhaps more like when my life has settled down, because I don't know where vet school will bring me, and I would like, there are some things that I would like to do before I settle down with her, but or with other dogs. But it's been a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And your faith has helped you do that, you said one time. Gosh. So tell me, even Nita's having a good time saying hello to everybody and doing nice kind of things. Was it more difficult than you expected?
In some aspects, yes. There were definitely times where I just wanted to pull my hair out. It was just so stressful. But most of the time now, it's just been a really great experience. It's been more of a friendship and a companionship. Since then, she's matured very nicely, and I'm really happy with how she's turned out.
What is the percentage of puppies that don't fail or that go on? You know, is it a big percentage or a small percentage?
It's always changing, because we always have puppies going back and everything. But
most of them do well.
I think it's about 50-50. Because some dogs get rejected for medical reasons.
And just keep doing the great work you're doing. God bless you. Thank you so much.
You.
The Catholic Corner, isn't that a marvelous, marvelous gift? Animals, how they give us love and peace and blessings. Take care of your animals and say a prayer and blessing for a beautiful, beautiful Anne who does such great work. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.
Very much.